Hi cuties! It's time to get real nerdy. We are talking 2019 reading stats. I'm gonna get so nerdy. I've got graphs, I've got visual aids. I like data, all right? I like sorting things. I like percentages. I am very nerdy when it comes to reading stats. Not about everything else in life, just reading stats. I am very, very, very nerdy about. I love watching other people's videos for their reading stats, okay? Without further ado, let's get to it. This year in 2019, I had a goal to read 60 books, and I ended up reading 117. I almost doubled it. I was so close, Samwise, but I didn't quite get there, so I blame October. But that puts me at 195% of my reading goal this year. Definitely not something to smirk at. But between those 117 books, I read 42,029 words. My average rating was 3.7 out of 5 stars. I think it's pretty good. That's not bad. I read mostly medium to really good books this year, so not a whole lot of disappointment. The biggest book I read was Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This book is 659 pages long. It's massive, but a very fast read, and I loved it so much. And the shortest book I read was War and Peace by Andy M. Long at only 126 pages. I read this as an ebook and did not like it. My best reading month of the year was September, where I read 19 books. 19 books. Pretty dang good. And then I had my worst reading month in October, right afterwards, where I only read 5 books. Disappointing because I love October and I wanted to read so many witchy books and I just couldn't. Of the 117 that I read, the most popular one that I read, according to Goodreads, is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I don't remember how many people read this, but it was like 6 million other people have read this book. So, and I don't blame them. It's a fantastic book. And the least popular book I read was A New Zephyr by David Munson. It's not a shock to me that this is the least popular. It is an indie book. I mean, I have an entire month dedicated to indie books, which are like the least known books, which are not usually crazy popular, so that is understandable. But speaking of indie books, the best indie book that I read was Seventh Daughter by Ronnie Seagrin. This is so good. Like, this should be a movie. It was really, really, really well done. Highly recommend. If you're looking for a really good indie book, you want some epic adventure, if you want a real like kind of Indiana Jones feel with a little bit of magic and mystery and sisterhood and traipsing through South America, recommend this book. But Ronnie, where's the second one? I need the second one. This was the year that I really got into audiobook. I never used to think that I could get into them. I'm not really an audio style of learner, so I didn't think I could retain the information. I was wrong, and I will freely admit that I was wrong. Audiobooks are awesome, and I love them. But the best audiobook that I read this year was And the Trees Crept In by Dawn Kurtigat. This was an immersive experience. I loved this audiobook because it had so much more than just the narration of the pages. It gave you such interesting insights. It really made you feel like you were in a horror movie. It's a psychological thriller is what it is. Definitely makes you feel like you're in the house where this is all taking place. It will give you nightmares. The Creeper Man is coming. I would be lying if I didn't say I had nightmares about the Creeper Man, okay? But this was so good. There were many other good audiobooks that I read this year. I read Sadie, I read The Diviners, but I still think as in terms of immersiveness into the world, And the Trees Crept In does such a good job. All right, you ready to get nerdy? We're gonna look at some graphs. We're gonna talk about the distribution of my reading year based on format. So between audiobooks, ebooks, hardcovers, and paperback. Even though I started late in the audiobook game, I read 48 audiobooks, and then I read 38 hardcovers, 21 paperbacks, and 10 ebooks, which is, for 10 ebooks, that's like crazy because I don't really like ebooks. Granted, it was all the Paranormal Dating Agency because that had 6 books in it and they were all super short, so that made it easy to get a lot of ebooks, and I don't recommend those. Audiobooks really did it, and I think this is how audiobooks are gonna help me through the next year as well. Distribution-wise for target age group of said books, it should come as a shock to no one that I read the most YA books at 82 books. I read 24 adult books, which is pretty good for me, and 11 middle grade books. Just for shits and giggles, I wanted to look at publication year. What year of publication did I read the most this year? The answer was 2018. I read 28 books that were published in 2018, and then 2016 came in second at 17 books, while 2017 came in third at 16 books. Then both 2015 and 2019, I read 15 books between each year. And those were really where the most books I read were. I just really like this distribution, okay? It's really interesting to me, and you could think it's dumb and stupid, but I think it's really interesting. And the last distribution of my data is sorting through what genres I read this year. And again, not a shock. The genre I read the most was fantasy. I read 34 fantasy books, but in second place, I read a lot of contemporary this year, which I don't read a lot of. But I read 30 contemporary books and only 17 urban fantasy books, which I guess if you want to make fantasy a big umbrella, you could put those in, but I tried to separate it. I'm also really not good at sorting through genres because some books fit more than one genre and it's a little difficult for me to sort them. I read 7 paranormal romance, 6 of those were that supernatural dating agency. Then I read 6 books for each of the next categories, which were sci-fi, mystery, historical fiction, and dystopian. I read 3 nonfiction books and 2 short story compilations. And the last bit is not really data. I just wanted to show you my top 5 favorite covers of the year, which have been sitting behind me, so you may already know what they are. But I did rank these, and these are the top 5 covers for new releases in 2019, by the way, not just of the books that I read this year. In 5th place, I have Harbor for the Nightingale by Kathleen Baldwin. This is the 4th book in the Strange House series. I'm very excited to read it. Haven't gotten a chance to yet, but I will be in 2020. I love the color scheme for this. I love her series in general. I think it's got beautiful font. It tells such a good story, and the wraparound for it has these really cool designs in it. There's nothing really on the inside cover, which is why it's in 5th place, but even the little designs up here give you a feel of it and how this book is going to be different from the other Strange House books. So it's Maya's story, and I am very excited to read this one. In 4th place is a book I recently got in an Owl Crate, and that is Winterwood by Shea Earnshaw. This is the Owl Crate exclusive edition, and I do love this. The regular version is amazing as well. It's just a darker cover where this is white. This one, again, underneath the cover of it, we've got the beautiful shinies going on here, and that really makes it even more special to me. I just love the color scheme with the gold and the blue and the white. It's just so pretty. And of course this one has sprayed edges, so it's even more, but that's technically not part of the cover. So. And in 3rd place, we have The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I think this is gorgeous. I love the keys. I love that the ribbons are kind of shiny as well. Oh, and they're also raised. You all know me. I love a good raise. Even like the little pearly lines here are raised with a good feel. And then, of course, underneath the cover, come on. Gorgeous, gorgeous. And then you flip it open, all the keys. It's just so pretty. It's a cover that wraps around with the theme of it, and it's intriguing. I want to know what's up with these keys and ribbons. Why is it called The Starless Sea? I don't see any sea on here. Love this cover. This should be no surprise to anyone. This is the 2nd book cover that I love the most, and that is Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell. This is gorgeous. I love my boys. I love them. Look at them. I love the color for Simon's wings. I did see there are multiple versions of this cover. I do like the Starry Night one that they did, I think, for Barnes & Noble, but this gives me more of a feel because I know that they're going on a road trip. So I do like that. Flip it open. You've got the clouds here, and I think that's a really good color. And then the inside as well, you get some good clouds, and they're going to America, okay? They're road tripping America, and that's what this gives me. That it gives me those vibes. And surprisingly, the #1 book cover for 2019 releases that I think is just gorgeous and so eye-gripping is Babysitters Covent by Kate Williams. This is just, it immediately pops to your eyes. And normally I'd be a girl like, I don't like pink. I love the blend of pink and purple. The jacket, it has all these feels. It makes me feel like I'm back in the 90s. Inside cover is pink with the witch symbol and stuff. I just think this is such a good cover for like if you want to look and for a book that makes you want to pick it up. This does a really good job of that. And that's why it's kind of my #1 pick for a cover this year, because even before I knew what this book was about, I was like, yoink! It gives you all the nostalgic feels, which I think is something that everybody strives for these days, because we don't like what the future looked like, so we want to look back to the past where there were happier times. Hear, hear, Sam. So those are my top 5 covers that were released in 2019. Those are my reading stats from 2019. Thanks for nerding out with me a little bit. I just love these videos. I love seeing stats, okay? It's just so interesting. I want to see your reading stats videos if you're going to make one, or you can just kind of comment what your stats are this year down below or on Facebook, Tumblr, and Twitter, and I'll see you next time, cuties. Bye, says Sam.